What is going on, everyone? My name is Northy and I am here for the round 18? I think it's round 18. The round 18 team coach preview. We are really getting to the pointy end. I believe this is the last quarter of the season that we are heading into, so not many of these left to go. I apologize that this one is also coming out a bit later, but I've got it out on the right day, so at least we've got it right in that sense. But I am honestly worried as to how this week is going to go. A lot of changes here that we have been forced to make, things that I've been trying to keep, and it's going to be just an overall very, very interesting week. I am hopeful that certain game modes do well, top 4 in particular. Man, do we need a good top 4 week, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes. It's going to be an absolute madness of a weekend, I feel like, and it's all really dependent on a few players. So with that all being said, we're going to jump into it, but before we do so, be sure to leave a like on the video as per usual. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are so close. Ridiculously close now at this point to 3,000 subscribers, less than 50 away. Yesterday's video did amazing and it's helped that out a ton, so if you want to help us reach the very end, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe as well. All of it helps get it pushed in the YouTube algorithm and all that stuff, so hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's see what we've got. Alrighty, so we have a look here on the front screen and we have a little bit of an idea based off of the team coach tips which players are going to go well this week and where we think things could go well. So we'll have a look first at the Sydney North one, because this one is going to be very interesting. No Heaney, he has officially failed his tribunal attempt and he will not be eligible for the Brownlow. So man, if he does end up winning it, that will be very, very unfortunate for him. But North v Sydney, this is going to be an expected win for Sydney, I think. But a lot of people are starting to think maybe North make it a bit more competitive, which would be great. I'm still on the cynical side for this week. I think North Melbourne are going to get beaten fairly convincingly away from home at the SCG. I feel like, although they have been very good since their first win against West Coast, I think there's still a lot more this team needs. Still some quarters where it's like, oh, we're starting to struggle a bit. So hopefully we can keep it going and maybe find ourselves competitive in this game. But Sydney will probably take it. This Richmond GWS game, I'm picking GWS, but like for some reason in my head, I feel like GWS are going to find a way to choke this game. They have a habit of doing so against opponents they probably should beat. So they lost to Adelaide when they probably should have beat them. It was at Adelaide Oval, so you could say maybe that's the reason. This one's at the MCG, so you could definitely say Richmond may be able to get over the top of them there. But overall, it's going to be a very, very interesting outcome, hopefully in the right way. But next up, we're going to go Western Bulldogs v Carlton. We're going to say Carlton wins this one. Their form has just been a lot better. Then we move to West Coast Brisbane. It is in Perth, but Brisbane have just been a lot better than West Coast's most recent form. Starting to look a bit disappointing. Hawthorn coming off some big losses, and then Freo, one of the hotter teams in the competition at the moment. I think Freo wins it away, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hawthorn make it competitive if they get back to what they've been doing a lot throughout the season, which has been, I think they had a 5-game win streak at one point, so very good for Hawthorn. But last week against Geelong really showed that this team isn't as flawless as we thought they had started to become. Next we go Melbourne Essendon. They don't have Gawn, they don't have Petrarca. If they win it, I'll be shocked. Essendon should take this pretty convincingly. Then we got Gold Coast versus Port, and I tipped North Melbourne against Gold Coast last week because they were away from home. This week, they're at home against Port Adelaide, so all trends say this is a Gold Coast win. Every trend says this should be the outcome, but you never know, you never know. And then we've got Collingwood versus Geelong. Geelong's starting to look a lot better. I really liked this switch up to Conning down forward. They had Stewart in the middle. There was a lot to be really excited about last week against Hawthorn, but against Collingwood, it could really go either way. They are a lot closer than I think a lot of people expected them to be on paper. Either Geelong was going to burst out at the start of the season and Collingwood would fly back, or Collingwood would regain their premiership form and jump up while Geelong kind of started to push back. But no, they're sitting around the same level on the ladder. I'm thinking, it's going to be a tough one. I think Collingwood's got it. Again, I hope it's a good game. I hope it's a close game. It really is the perfect time for these two teams to match up. It is a very, very good matchup tonight. And then Adelaide versus St Kilda. Saints, massive, massive win against Sydney. And then Adelaide, they have been okay as of late. It is at Adelaide too. I'm going to give this one to Adelaide. I reckon they take that. So that's what we've got for tips so far. I think last week, yeah, 6 out of 9, which is bang average for us realistically, with some nice ones in there. I got North, like I said, over Gold Coast, but I reckon this is going to be, it's got a nice mix of upsets, I reckon, unexpected results. Home versus away type feels. It could go either way. This will be a very interesting week for sure. But that is all for tips, and now we look at the star power. So this is what I've got for the star powers. I had to take out Gorn, obviously, as he's not playing due to injury. I believe he's out for a month. So that is definitely going to be a shame for us. But Zorko takes his place. And Zorko has been very, very good as of recent. He's been consistent 100. So hopefully we can manage to pick him up on a good week. They are coming up against West Coast. So hopefully he is needed. He is off that like halfback. He is one of those players they look for in the back line to try and get the easy kick out. So I'm hopeful that Zorko will be used like that again against West Coast. Then we've got Nick Martin. He stays there at the moment, but again, I'm really tempted for TDK. He's starting to really put the pressure on. He's been very good as of recent. Very, very good. Been a strong ruck consideration every single week now. But we moved to defensive dynamo. I've decided to go with Young over Whitfield in this department because Young is going to be an important part for Freo in their game against Hawthorn, so that'll be a very, very interesting matchup for sure. And also the fact that for GWS, Lockie Whitfield, they're up against Richmond, and I don't know how much they're going to need Lockie Whitfield in that back line. I don't know, it could be a mistake. He has had the occasional like 160 performance, but that's usually when they're getting pumped or when they're losing games. I don't imagine GWS getting pumped by Richmond. They could lose it because GWS just for some reason likes to do stuff like that, but I don't know whether Whitfield will be needed as much here. Midfield bull, I'm honestly not too certain with whether Cripps being the best like pick out of it all. Definitely thought Merritt, but I didn't want to jump on that bandwagon too quickly. You know what? I actually may do so. I think I may do it. Yeah, no, I'm going to make the switch now. I'm going to put Merritt in. I think Cripps, I was thinking Cripps because of the fact that he's had a down week. They're up against the Dogs, which I didn't think they'd be able to match up too well with, outside of obviously Bond. But you know, could go either way. And Merritt, after last week, I think he's found a bit of form. Hopefully that game has sparked something in him because he has been bang average. Very bang average, like bang on 100 every week. So like it's not bad at all, but it's not the best. And usually there's someone better. You can see Lockie Neal absolutely smashed it. You've got Zach Butters who smashed it. You just don't want to get caught not taking the risk. But Merritt after last week, I think there's something in him. I think there is something in this one. And then we're sticking with Golden. Again, this could be such a bad decision because he's been poor the last couple of weeks, but he now doesn't have Heaney and he's up against North Melbourne. Surely Golden is doing something. Like, at this point, if Golden has a poor week, I don't know what to think because all of my double points players keep messing up. But that is what I've got for this week, this 5-man lineup. We checked the ladder last week. It was very, very poor. So we want to see ourselves get into those high 500s. It's really the only way we get any kind of chance at a prize card is if everyone here has solid performances and one person stands out. Usually for us it's been Golden, but Zorko's done it before, Merritt's done it before. I just need everyone being solid, and they all can be. It's just when they're not is when the problems start to arise. So hopefully something shows itself out this week. But then we move to Ultra, and again, a few changes. I guess another reason I moved the Silver away from Cripps to Merritt here is because I've got him as my Silver and midfield bull for the Ultra Star powers. So yeah, we've got the normal Silver for him there. We've got the next gen Nick Martin double points. I've gone with Nick Martin rather than a midfield bull because I feel like against Melbourne, a depleted Melbourne side, these guys will be able to shine. We've kept Whitfield in here again because I'm not confident putting anyone else in there at this point. I think there's too many risks, while Whitfield usually gets that 100 double points fairly consistently, and I like that. I like that from Whitfield. Yeah, it makes it a safer option every week. Zorko again, the Trailblazer spot, no Max Gawn, so he is not getting that position. And again, the double points, Errol Goulden. This could be his last week. Again, if he does not have a good game here, I will be very shocked. Very, very shocked. I would be very disappointed because a lot is resting in his hands this week. So that is my Ultra team. And you can see rank 161. I need to get into those 900s, man. It just has to happen. Like, I can't have weeks where my double points aren't scoring 100. You can see 2 this week. I didn't score 100 last week, so I'm hoping I catch him on a good week. And then again, we had Maxi Gawn's double points last week, so 71, not helpful at all. So realistically, I just need to see 5 triple figures. It's not easy, but you'd think when you pick some of the best players out there, you'd be able to get it quite consistently. So it's unfortunate that we haven't been getting them at the right time, but it happens. Everyone goes through their slumps, and we just need to pick it back up to get ourselves that prize card. But that's what we've got going for star powers. Now let's go to top team. Top team, man, this is a scary week for top team. Rowan Marshall and Jesse Hogan, they probably stick out like a sore thumb to you guys. At least if you're consistent with the channel, you'd know that like this is a massive risk, this Jesse Hogan pick. Again, as Heaney is not playing, we cannot choose him, and usually he's fairly consistent for us and we consistently pick him. But this time around, we're going with Hogan. It's not because he's number one, it's because he's up against Richmond, and I think with the way that teams have been playing against Richmond, Jesse should be able to smash it. There obviously are players around him who can take some of that ball away from him. Toby Green, for example, that's one that I'm very, very worried about, but Toby Green is one that could. You've got likes of Callum Brown in there. Brent Daniels can have amazing forward games sometimes, but Jesse Hogan, he's their main goal kicker. He's been doing very well this season and has the potential to pop off. Like, hopefully we see that 5 goals. I just need him to get a lot of marks. That's really what I need to see from him. Just marks. Get your hands on the ball. Lots of possessions. That's what I need to see from him. There's going to be so many opportunities for him to do so. And he can have another big week. He really can. I'm just hopeful we've done it on the right week. I feel like against Richmond, it's the best chance. This ruck, it's so scary this week, this ruck, man. I didn't go with the Nank because he is coming up against a decent opponent in Kieran Briggs. I didn't pick English because he's up against TDK. Sherry I thought about, but Grundy is very experienced and he can have his way with him occasionally. The only one that left me with was either Rowan Marshall or Sam Draper. Sam Draper is up against Melbourne with no Gawn. He is up against Harrison Petty. And in my head, that makes me want to pick Draper. I really want to pick Draper, and I feel dumb for not doing it, but he's not proven. Like 60, his average is 60. That is so worrying, even if he is up against Harrison Petty. This is honestly the one week where I won't pick the opponent who is up against Melbourne, because Draper is just not the type of player I'm confident in picking regularly. So I've gone with Rowan. He's up against Riley O'Brien. You can see Riley hasn't been as good this year as he has been in previous years. Rowan, 111 for the season. He can get up and down the ground. He can win the occasional hit out. I'm hopeful he will be involved in the play. You can see 7 marks is great, but there's a lot more. Like some players are doing a lot more. He has the occasional 30 disposal output, and that is insane. If he can do that this week, I'll be over the moon. But yeah, he usually lacks the hit outs. That's kind of what it will be for Rowan. I'm really banking on the fact that he can get up and down the ground compared to Riley O'Brien. Riley will occasionally get into packs, but Rowan gets involved with the play more often, so it's just fingers crossed that's what happens this week with Rowan. Outside of that, we've got Errol Goulden, who again, for many reasons I am sticking with, and this could be his last week. Like I said, a lot rests on his hands this week. This is a big week for Errol in terms of my team. If he doesn't do well, it most likely will mean the end of my rank 1 for top 4, but I've just got to hold on. I've got to hold on. You got to take those risks, and that's what I'm doing. And then we're sticking with Nick Dacos. He's got a very big matchup tonight against Geelong. They could tag him. I'm not too sure who they'd tag him with, but I feel like they'd have someone for it. My thoughts behind it were we'll stick with Dacos because he's regularly that on ball and he does a lot more. You can see only averaging the 2 marks. It definitely sucks, but they look for him. They really do. And so hopefully we find something good from him. Sheasel was one I thought about. I think he's just been on a tear, but against Sydney, I'm not sure whether they want him on ball or in backline. That's really the big thing. If he was backline, I'd pick him. But if he's on ball and gets moved on ball, like they kind of have been over the last few weeks, and even put him forward, then it could make some things difficult. Luke Ryan has been pretty bang average. He's been around the 100, so I thought like that wouldn't be too great of a pick right now, especially because he's had some weeks, like I think he had 2 70s basically in a row. Ridley was another thought. I think Ridley could be one that we go to, but again, against Melbourne, I just don't know. I really just don't know. I'm just not confident in picking him. Again, maybe I need to take the risk, but Nick Dacos we are going to go with because I know he gets his hands on the ball fairly often, and just fingers crossed things go well for this team, man. It has to, because You can see, I think I've looked at the last few episodes and this has kind of been cut off. But number 1 for the season on the leaderboards is only 200 behind me. And he gained like over 100 in this round alone. So I need a high 400s round this round, man. There's just no excuse for it. I have to have a good round. But after that, we go to top 18. Top 18. This is a really tough one. 2 of my regulars in the forward line were out. We had Isaac Heaney, who can't play because we've mentioned it a few times already, and Isaac Rankin, who we put him in for 1 week, had himself a pretty decent couple of weeks, I think. I don't think, yeah, he was 74, like, which isn't much, but it's honestly all right for the forward line. But yeah, then he just got suspended as well for a month. So that's tough. That's really, really tough. But Toby Green gets his spot again, banking on the Richmond defense buckling against these guys. So they've had some good form. They played really well last week against a really formidable Carlton backline. So I'd imagine against a Richmond backline, they will be able to do just as well. Fingers crossed again. We've got Lukey Jackson staying in there, both the Geelong forwards and Joe Danaher. Joe is pretty consistent for me, and so is Luke at the moment, because they're both players who can get a run in the ruck as well, get some cheap points there. So hopefully we get a bit of that, and they can get themselves around the ground. And then these Geelong forwards, Cameron especially as of late, usually get themselves some cheap points, which is great. Grime has struggled every now and then, like he struggled last week, but then had a week where he had 120, so we don't want to miss out on that. We go to the back line. I worked my butt off to put Jack Sinclair in, man. It's so tough to crack this back line at the moment, but I knew Sinclair needed a spot. I've taken out Bailey Dale. Dale has been great, but I think Sinclair has been consistently finding his form more and more over the season, and he's been averaging more 100s. I just need more 100s. And Sinclair has been doing that for St Kilda, so maybe we get another one of those for us this week. Hayden Young, he stays in. He's another one that I'm like always on the brink with. I'm not sure what to do with him, but we're going to keep him in. Had a good week last week. Same with Dacos. Same with Whitfield. All pretty much around the hundreds. I'd like to see a high 100 from one of them, like we saw from Sheasel last week. Obviously keeping him in after that performance. And Newman, the only somewhat disappointing performance with 87. So yeah, that is one we may need to keep an eye out for. But one has cracked the list, and I'm hopeful that it's a good choice. And then we go to the midfield. Biggest concern is the Cripps and Walsh duo. I'm not sure how they're going to go about sharing it, but occasionally they can absolutely do so. I think it's just the nature of that Carlton midfield. They just get themselves the ball because they're just hard nuts. They really are. Keeping Goulden in again. Just have to be opportunistic in this one. Then we've got Josh Dunkley, who's staying in. I think he was the only one who had a good week last week, so I thought may as well keep him in. And then Merritt takes Bont's spot. That was one that was tough to do, but again, you've got to make those changes. I'm not sure whether it's going to be a week where they put Bont down the forward line to try and change things up. They may do so. I'm honestly not too sure whether that's going to be a good choice. But again, like, Merritt is the consistent 100 guy. He's not going to always be the best pick, but man, it's just tough. It's just really, really tough trying to make changes that you think are going to go well. But that is top 18 overall. We had a good week last week for top 18. It was like the only game mode that felt good. This week, it has to be a prize card this week. That's the only way we see it as a success. I've had this high 1600s way too many times. I want to see myself get into the 1700s. I just need consistent 100-point games from everyone. I don't want to see anyone slacking. I need 100 from everybody. But that is where I'm going to end it. Like I said, I am nervous as all hell for this week, man. This is a really, really big one. I'm almost certain, 100%, if we don't have a good top 4 week, we lose our number 1 spot, and that was my goal. I want to stay number 1 for top 4 this season. I've held it pretty much all year so far. And so if I lose it in the final stretch, in the final quarter of the year, I'll be devastated. I really will. So it's really about making sure we take the best chances, get the best opportunities. And I think I'm setting myself up for that this week. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes well. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as well. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Everything is always very, very much appreciated. Again, 3,000 subscribers on the way. So if you want to help me get there, be sure to hit the sub button. I appreciate it all very, very much. And I hope to see you all in another video. Goodbye.